Our next story is about Senegal. It's a nation in West Africa, one of the many former French colonies in the region and one of the many that are angry with France. So it may be surprising to see this happen. That was Senegal's recently elected president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye. He met French President Emmanuel Macron yesterday at the Élysée Palace in Paris. A few months ago, this would have been surprising because of the hostilities between Macron and the new Senegalese government. Faye became president in April. Just days after he was released from prison, Faye had been imprisoned by Senegal's former president, Macky Sall, a leader perceived to have been close to France and Macron. And it wasn't just Faye who was in prison, it was also his political mentor, Ousmane Sonko, who Faye made Prime Minister of Senegal. Sonko is the Prime Minister now. Listen to this to get an idea of their anger towards Macron.
And worst of all, it was at the height of this persecution that President Macron welcomed President Macky Sall to congratulate him on having done what he had to do to save his country. It's an incitement to repression.
Instead of criticizing Senegal's former president for repression, Macron congratulated Sall for imprisoning opposition leaders like Sonko and Faye. Now, that's one reason for the anti-France sentiment in Senegal. The other is more deep-rooted. You see, Senegal became independent in 1960, but for decades, it has been dependent on the French for everything from trade to security to even their currency. And this is no accident. It was by design, a way to enforce close ties between France and its former colonies. But this spell has started to break. A number of former French colonies saw military coups recently. Since 2021, the military has taken over Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. All three nations then confronted the French and demanded that French troops leave their soil. Senegal did not have a coup, but the new government has the same sensibilities. Last month, Prime Minister Sonko said, and I'm quoting, "I reiterate Senegal's wish to determine its course which is incompatible with the entrenched presence of foreign military bases." Senegal is also planning to oust the French army. There are about 350 French troops in this country. President Faye and Prime Minister Sonko want them out. Reports say that a plan is already in motion to reduce that number to 100, from 350 to 100. So with all of this in mind, let's look at the meeting between Macron and Faye again. You can see that Macron is vying for a good photo op. He's asking Faye to turn and face the camera. Shake his hand. The Senegalese president does not seem really interested, but he's playing along. Why would he bother with all of this? Perhaps because President Faye is looking at the bigger picture. Macron was hosting a summit, an African vaccine summit. It was an opportunity for Senegal and other African nations.
Africa produces only 2% of the vaccines it uses. Our goal is to produce 60% of these vaccines by 2040.
The disparity is bleak. It is one of the reasons that the African continent has a low vaccination rate and why infant mortality is high. Macron announced a $1.2 billion program to boost vaccine production in the African continent. So it seems that Faye decided it was worth it to play nice. It ties in with Senegal's bigger strategy, trying to unite African nations and change the dynamics of their relationship with the West. Faye has been saying this since he took office.
I will always be available to work with you, our European partners, towards a win-win partnership that is mutually beneficial for our respective peoples.
Senegal isn't going for the scorched earth tactic. It isn't planning to sever ties with France and the West. It wants to redefine those ties and turn them into win-win propositions instead of the current exploitative relationship. Hopefully, Senegal succeeds with this plan. On the show today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can we expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
Start with a report on India's shifting nuclear policy.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost.